أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Tonight, inshallah, we're going to continue our lessons on how to read the Holy Quran. Our last two lessons covered the alphabet, and tonight, inshallah, we're going to start talking about how to write the capital letters. Of course, we are trying to learn how to read the Quran, but in order to learn how to read the Quran, it is very helpful for us to also be able to write the letters. If we want to learn the letters, to memorize them, to be able to recognize them very easily, it's very important that we also learn to write them. So tonight, inshallah, we're going to learn how to write the capital letters. And it's very important to remember that we read English from left to right. When you start reading a page in English, you start from the left side and you read towards the right. But in Arabic, when we read the Quran, we start from the right of the page and we read towards the left. So when we're writing the letters, everyone who is practicing how to read the Quran and trying to learn the letters should get a piece of paper and a pen or pencil and practice as much as they can. If you have a copy of the letters, one of the ways to start practicing is to start tracing over the letters. So for example, here we have alif, ba, ta, and tha. So before we start trying to write the letters ourselves, we should trace the letters that are already there. So we start with the alif. The alif can be written very simply as a straight line. So we start from the top and we make a straight line down. Now the ba, ta, and the tha take a little bit more practice. So in order to help us learn how, we trace. We start from the right corner of the ba, we come down a little bit, we form the curved base, and when we finish with a little curve going up. And the ba has one dot, so we draw our dot. Now we trace the ta. We come to the ta, the same as the ba. Start with the top right part, do the curved base, and finish curving back up. And we put the two dots for the ta. Same for the tha. Start from the right, curve down, and then curve back up. And then we draw our three dots. Now, after you've traced it, now you try to write it yourself. We start with the alif. It's a straight line down. Very simple. Now we do the ba just like we did when we traced it. Start from the top right, come down a little bit, draw the curved base, and then finish going back up a little bit. And what does the ba have? It has one dot underneath. We do the same with the ta, the same easy shape, and it has two dots. And the same with the tha, and it has 1, 2, 3 dots. And that's how you write the alif, ba, ta, and tha. Inshallah, your handwriting is going to be much better, inshallah. Now we move on to the next set of letters. The jim, the ha, and the kha. And in the same way that we practice the ba, the ta, and the tha, we'll do the same here. We'll trace. So we start with the jim from this left part of the top portion, from right here. We curve towards the right, stop, and then we make this big tail that comes down towards the right, and then we draw our dot. Let's try it again with tracing the ha. We start from this point here, do a little squiggle until we get to this point, and then we come back down and finish the tail. And this ha does not have any dots. So we move on to the kha. Same way, we do the top first, and then we draw the big curvy tail, and we put one dot on top for the kha. Now that you've traced it, you're ready to write it on your own. So we'll start with the jim. We do the top portion, and then we do the big curve, and we put one dot. Now we do the ha, the top portion, and then the big curve, and this doesn't have any dots. Then the kha, the top portion, and then the big curve, and then it has one dot on top. So we have jim, ha, and kha. Now we move on to the next set. And these are the dal and dha. So we'll trace them first. We start from the top, come down, a little flat bottom, and just finish off with a little curve. Even if you write the dal with the flat bottom without coming back up, it's okay. Now we trace the dhal. Same way, start from the top, finish off the bottom, and then we put one dot for the dal. Now you're ready to do it yourself. After you traced it, you see, it's very easy to write the dal, and we write the dal in the same way, and we add one dot on top. Now we move on to the next set, which is the ra and the za. And we're also going to trace these. Once again, we start from the top. Now we do the za. And you can see the difference between the dal and the ra is that the dal has a flat bottom, but the ra does not. Now that we've traced it, we draw it ourselves. So we come down and we finish off with a little bit of a curve. And the same with the za. Come down and finish off with a little curve, and we give it one dot. You guys are doing very well, alhamdulillah. Now we're going to move on to the next set, which is the sin and the sheen. And we're going to start by tracing them. And to write the sin and the sheen, it helps to know how many curves we're drawing. So we have two small curves here and then one big one at the end. So we have 1, 2, and then the third big one. And we'll do the same thing with the sheen. The first curve, the second curve, and then the last one is a big tail, and then we have 3 dots on the sheen. Now we'll write the sin. We can do the same thing. We draw one small curve, another small curve, and then we draw the big tail. Now we do the same for the sheen. 1, 2, and then the third one is the big one, and then you have 3 dots on top of the 2 small curves. Now there's also a way to write the sheen. Instead of doing 1 curve and then 2 and then 3 like that, we can do it without lifting the pencil or pen from the paper. 1, 2, 3. Very simple. 1 small, 2 small, third one is big. Now we move on to the next set, which is the sad and dad. And once again, we're going to trace these. And we start tracing this from this center point right here of the top portion. So we do this big loop coming all the way back around up a little bit, and then we draw this tail. And you'll notice that a lot of the letters have a similar tail like this. So once you learn how to draw a couple of them, the rest become easy. Now we trace the dad, start from the center point, come to the right, loop all the way back around, go up a little bit, and then draw the tail, and then add a dot for the dad. Now we're going to try to do it ourselves. So we start from the center part, we come out a little bit to the right, and then we're going to loop back to where we started, go up a little bit, and then we draw the tail. That's our sad. Now we're going to do the dad, start from that center point, do a big loop to come back around, and then we draw a big tail, and we put 1 dot for the dad. And our next set is tha and dha. Now there's a couple ways that this can be written depending on what's easy for you. One is that we draw the bottom portion first. So we start from the left tip here, and we trace this bottom portion, and then we bring down the long portion of it. And we do the same with the dha here. You do the bottom part, bring down the long line, and then put the dot. So we'll practice that ourselves now. Draw the bottom portion, and then we bring down the straight line right here. Same thing with the dha. You write it just like the tha, but you add a dot. Now the other way that you can do this, and it's just as fine, is that you start from this top. You come down, and then you finish with the curve. See, we come down, and then we finish with the curve. Come down and finish with the curve of the dha. This doesn't allow you to write as pretty looking a letter, but whichever way is easier for you, you can do it that way. Our next set is the ayn and the ghain. And just as usual, we start from this top point here, tracing it. We come over it, and then we draw the big tail going the opposite way. And the same thing for the ghain. We're going to trace it, come to the right, and then we draw a big tail for it. And of course, we give one dot for the ghain. Now we're going to do it ourselves. We do the small curve on the top, and then the big one on the bottom. And for the ghain, big small curve on top, big curve on the bottom. And then we add one dot for the ghain. Our next set is the fa and the qaf. Now for the fa, you see that we do a little circle here first, and then we draw a base the same way as we did for the ba, the ta, and the tha. And we give this one dot. Now for the qaf, we do the same little circle to begin with, but the base is a little bit different than the fa. It's a little wider, or you could say a little taller. It's not as flat as the fa, and it has two dots. Now we're going to try it ourselves. For the fa, we do a little circle, and then we do a flat base like we did for the ba and ta and the tha. And we give the fa one dot over the little circle. Now to do the qaf, we do a little circle, but we have a bigger base on the bottom, not as flat, and we give it our two dots. And there you go, fa and qaf. Now to our next set, the kaf and the lam. One of the ways you can see the difference between these two is that the kaf has a very completely flat bottom, but the lam is more curved on the bottom. So we'll start by tracing the kaf from the top, just like that. And there we go, the middle marking. And then the lam, start from the top, and these two are very easy. You'll pick these up real quick. Now we do the kaf ourselves. Remember that the kaf has a very flat bottom. So we just do a flat bottom like that. And then we draw that little ya on the inside of the kaf. And then the lam, come down, and then just give it a little base like that. Very easy. Our next set is the meme and the noon. Now the meme does take a little bit of practice. So we start from this spot right here. And the way we draw this, we come up and down to the right, and then back to the left and straight down. Now we do the noon. Noon is very simple. You just have this big base with one dot. Now we're going to draw the meme ourselves. Remember, we start by going up and to the right, and then left and back down. See, it's pretty simple. Up and to the right, then left and back down. That's your meme. And now to do the noon, just draw a bowl and put a dot in the middle. And there you go. Our next set is the waw and the ha. The waw is very simple. You have this circular top and then just a very simple bottom, not so big. Now the ha takes a little bit of practice because it looks kind of like a pretzel and you might get lost in trying to decide which way to go with it. So what we do is we start with this top portion right here and just follow this line now. You see, it's very easy once you get it. First, you make a trace around this whole top, and then you come to the center and cross it and come out just like that. Let's try that again. Start from the top here. You do the whole big circle first, and then come back around through the center, and then finish off with a little tail. Very easy. Now let's try the waw. We traced it already. Circular top, and then just a small tail like the ra. Now for the ha, remember we start from the top, come down to the right, loop all the way back up, and then halfway through we come across, and then we give it a tail. See, very easy. Watch, I'm going to do it without stopping. Just like that. Just like that. Very simple. Once you get it, they're really easy. And our last set of letters that we're learning how to write, the first is the hamza, and then the ya. The hamza is very easy. A little curve, and then a straight line. No big deal. See? Just like that. We forgot to trace it. Of course, trace it first, and then draw it. And now we're going to trace the ya. Start from here. One curve this way, back around, and up. And then you give the ya two dots, and then we're going to write it ourselves. The ya is one of those letters that's kind of fun to write because you get to curve in all different kinds of directions. And you keep practicing and keep writing the letters, and you're going to get very good at them. And as you practice writing the letters, it's a very good idea to sound them out. So when I'm writing the Hamza, I say, this is Hamza. I say it out loud. When I draw the Ya, write the Ya, I say, this is Ya. And then I write it out with its 2 dots. Make sure always don't forget the 2 dots on the